The Wagner military group, what have they done so far? Well, according to their claims, they have taken control of key military facilities in two Russian cities, Rostov and Voronezh. The Wagner chief, Prigozhin, has pledged to blockade Rostov and move on to Moscow if Russia's defense minister and top general refuse to meet him in the city where Russia's southern military district is headquartered. So it seems like it is the Wagner boss who holds all the aces and he wants to call the shots. He is laying down the conditions and he expects the Russian administration to play the game by his rules. Security, of course, has been stepped up around Moscow. The mayor has said that anti-terror measures are being carried out. This is happening in the city of Rostov too, but like we said, Prigozhin, the head of the Wagner group, claims that his forces have taken control of that city. Putin is calling this internal treachery, betrayal, and he goes on to say that excessive ambition and vested interests have led to this treason. This is betrayal of one's country, one's people, and the cause for which the soldiers and commanders of the Wagner group had earlier fought and died side by side with our other units. And Verghese, like I said, this really is the irony of the entire situation, which is not lost on Putin, because in that address to the nation, he did point out the fact that the same Wagner group and its forces had been fighting with the Russian army, over the last 1 year in Ukraine. They have been instrumental, in fact, in, Russia being able to capture some parts of Ukraine, including the strategically important city of Bakhmut. And now Russia, in fact, is saying that it is Kiev which is taking advantage of Prigozhin's provocation to make inroads around Bakhmut. While there is no doubt, Verghese, that Ukraine will be watching this very closely with a lot of interest. If I'm not mistaken, Zelensky has issued a statement saying this is just the beginning. He is, in a sense, insinuating that he believes that, Russia is almost imploding, or that this is the beginning of the end for Putin, the man who's waged a war on Ukraine over the last 1 year. The question really is, what happens next? Who really is in control? Who is calling the shots? Because going by the statements that Prigozhin has made, it looks as if he wants the top military leadership of Russia to meet the conditions that he's laying down. He says, you will have to come and talk to me. You will have to listen to what I have to say. I have already taken control of this one city and my forces are now charging towards Moscow.
It is a very difficult situation that Putin has placed himself. And I have something very interesting about his rivalry with Prigozhin, because when we look about why this has happened, as you rightly mentioned, it is a conflict of interest between two Russian strongmen. Of course, we know Putin's background has been with the Soviet intelligence agencies, but many of them have no idea about Prigozhin, because Prigozhin, through the Western world, has always been this head of the, this group, Wagner group, for black ops that they carry out, and also some of working beyond the Russian law as such. But who is Prigozhin? Prigozhin was in fact born in Leningrad, which is now today's St. Petersburg, and was in a Soviet prison for almost 9 years. And the charges that were against him then was for robbery and fraud. Now, he was released from prison when the Soviet Union fell, and he was taking up small businesses. He was having hot dog carts and he was selling them, and then he got into bigger projects such as luxurious restaurants in St. Petersburg, and also came in touch with Russian elites. From there onwards, he started building his business and contacts, and from there he came in touch with the then deputy mayor of St. Petersburg, Vladimir Putin, and from then onwards, the relationship between both of them have been quite intimate, and also both of them have had been helping each other around. Putin is said to have used the state system to give him contracts, and he had enriched himself with these contracts. They consisted of big ticket contracts for supplying food as well as doing catering for some of the state events, especially the visit of President George W. Bush as well as other state leaders. And he had enriched himself and also come in touch with the powerful circles within Putin, and had also entrenched himself in Putin's circle as well. So Prigozhin, after that, is supposed to have also helped Putin when it came to the internet campaigning part of it, and therefore is said to have had a factory of trolls. And he's supposed to have also allegedly, according to the FBI, involved himself with the 2016 US presidential elections, on which there have been several questions of whether there was a Russian involvement or not. So this person has been part of Putin's inner circle. So how did Yevgeny Prigozhin today, after being part of Bakhmut's operation, in fact it was supposed to be a very bloody affair in Bakhmut, because it was a city that was facing stiff resistance from the Ukrainians, and the Russian official army couldn't make any kind of an inroad into Bakhmut. And it was Prigozhin's mercenaries who were able to finally break the back of that resistance and take over Bakhmut. So right now, what led to this kind of animosity between Putin and the mercenary group? That is the big question we have to find, because here is a person who had been a staunch ally of the Russian president suddenly turning the guns against his master. And the reasons, of course, they are giving is that they are not telling you the truth of what is happening. They are not telling you about the deaths of Russian soldiers. They are not telling you why we went on an invasion of Ukraine. So something is triggering Prigozhin to go ahead against the Russian top brass, and probably also test the possibility of him replacing Putin. So I think right now what we are seeing is a conflict of Russian strongmen. Prigozhin probably taking the right opportunity now of a weakened Putin to attack him.
Absolutely right. Two strongmen facing off in Russia at a time when Putin is obviously weak and in a vulnerable position. As you said, fighting a very unpopular war, which doesn't seem to have much support among his own people. And then this war has been a long drawn out one. It's gone on for well over a year now, with the West pumping in money and military assistance into Ukraine to take on Russia in a big way. And of course, Putin is faced with a situation where his own armed forces have been demoralized in this war that has gone on for over a year now. So it's a significantly diminished Putin today that we're talking about, who now faces a massive threat from a man who till just recently was his strong supporter and staunch ally, somebody who has been in his inner circle for a very long time.